So, the Archbishop of Canterbury has just done a video. I'm kind of regarding it as a response in a way, although he won't probably officially, admit it's a response. But that Graham Moore guy who was talking about the English Constitution as opposed to British, English as opposed to British when it comes to our law and rights. He didn't mention the Jewish religion, and he wasn't really talking about it in the best of terms. There's a lot to say about that video of Graham's. There's a lot to criticise and question him on in what he said. Anyway, because the Christian religion was a merging of the Roman and Gaelic cultures anyway, because at one point, remember, Christianity was banned and, the Romans had the Colosseum and their own gods and so forth. So, and the whole fact that we've got this King's Cross, the roads, the roads that form this shape, which is like the cross, which two prominent main roads, the Fosse Way and Watling Street, and the Romans coming into England and building the roads, and then this religion, not really too long after, under Constantine becoming a prominent religion, and then marching. Apparently, the Romans were carrying the cross in the front of them, almost as marching on the road. So there's a lot going on there. If you weren't there at the time, if you were there at the time, and you knew what was going on, there's probably quite a lot of symbology and meaning to the religious part of it, and two cultures coming together. Although I know that Christianity was a lot older religion, but obviously Jesus went around, in the old, Hebrew version and the First Testament and so forth. I'm not an expert on Christianity, but I know enough that these religions come from ideas in previous religions and spirituality. Religion is meant to be a spiritual practice, and it's meant to explain and give a model for the interaction of human beings, supposedly for a better common good, most religions. Although religion also has an aspect of it to do with law and order, but more based on a moral code, but it was punishable. And they had church courts, remember, and the church system figures into the courts. And I think that's what Graham Moore was talking about, to do with rights under God. When we talk about God-given rights, the context of it sometimes, like lex talionis. Lex talionis is a legal principle in Roman law, and apparently also in ancient Babylonian law. It could have been unwritten also in the Gaelic law, because they didn't write anything down. Lex talionis obviously refers to like birds, animate creatures of prey, cats, lions, and so forth. And the clause, the religious, let us pray. So, prayer is prayer to, give thanksgiving and thoughts, a spiritual power, but also they use the same word for actually, killing other creatures for food. It's not all things bright and beautiful or creatures great and small, that's for sure. So, in a way, let us pray could also mean lex talionis, which means that, people receiving justice, the equal action for an equal crime, which is far from forgiveness, but yet it is praying talons. So, what does the Archbishop of Canterbury think to that? Although, I suppose that's why the church has the judicial system where people are punished for the crimes, but you can seek forgiveness and obtain forgiveness from a jury in principle. Also in confessions for a priest, but most of the things that people went and confessed about possibly may have been sins or crimes that they didn't end up with in the court anyway. There definitely is a connection between the priest and the justice, which kind of seems to be lost in history. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about is something on a different subject when it comes to religion, which is literally, what is the current situation of the Archbishop of Canterbury in terms of the current modern framework, and what is the place of Christianity if it's advocating many other religions and isn't specifically or actively recruiting members of its own ranks? Well, the Archbishop of Canterbury seems to strongly advocate charity at the moment. A lot of his videos that I see him doing, not that I watch his channel all the time, but occasionally when Facebook puts a message on, I do listen to him, obviously. There's a hell of a lot of charity going on. Now, this is my problem with where we are with the Christian church. I mean, I think one of the Liberal Democrat House of Lords members wanted to scrap the Protestant religion and get it out of Parliament, which is not an easy feat to say that it's enshrined in law. That's one thing that Moore was talking about. He was saying that, after a while, how do you get something entrenched in law? There's a legal principle called entrenched in law. I would suggest that the Christian faith is entrenched in law because of the length of history of it and the basis of it. If we had a religion, it seems to me actually now quite relevant of Lex Talionis when it comes to let us pray, because it's almost like, double-edged sword, flip a coin. It's shall we forgive or punish? But that's down to the individual conscience, isn't it? This is my problem at the moment when it comes to Charles and the entire thing, this whole BlackRock Vanguard, World Economic Forum, just the big picture, the whole thing, the whole, you might as well throw the Americans in with there as well, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris and all this, right? This is the only problem I've got. On paper, in principle, the Christian religion is a good idea, right? It's meant to do good for the world and the community, right? That's the whole purpose and mission of it, right? If it worked according to its principles. But that's the thing with law and the justices at the moment. They're not working according to their principles because we've got all this law institute and through Magna Carta and the rest of it, right, that are saying basically, right, that, if anyone makes an order or judgment against the Magna Carta, it's void. And, you can go to a magistrate's court under the 1980 Act, under a certain section, and apply to have it set aside. And even the justices can set it aside of their own initiative without you even having to apply if it becomes apparent that they've done something which they shouldn't have done, right? Which means that you don't need to appeal it or get a lawyer, right? It means that if it is come to their attention that they've done something wrong, then they're going to put it right? Okay? And then that goes for rights, medical rights and privileges and so forth. We seem to be getting advocacy. If the political part of law was working as well as they've got the medical part of law, would be okay, right? You go to a doctor and you can get probation service or a lawyer or even do it yourself and write into a court, and they seem to act on those documents, but they don't seem to be acting equally in the proper framework when it comes to political documents, right? And they're meant to have equal validity, right? That's the problem. And I don't know why that is. This whole idea that the food system has eventually become corrupt as well, sugars, diabetes, cancers, and they're making a hell of a lot of money out of it, and the NHS and the whole American system is even worse. They're pushing pills and potions on us for massive profit and advertisement, right? That it seems like it might be a good thing that you're ill, because if you're not stuck in a prison, serving sentence, then you're dying from some diabetes or cancer. So, to give your doctor note, and it's evidence that you're suffering, maybe you're serving your penalty. This is the thing. Now, the problem is, though, coming back to the kind of big picture again from the justice side of it, this whole charity thing, right? The thing with Christianity is that there is the contradiction on that flip side of the coin, you know, forgive or punish, right? Now, the problem is that they've got these principles of sins that they're meant to be bad, okay? It's not good to be, you know, in excess sins or whatever, or at all. But then they've also got this principle of forgiveness. So, you know, you can be forgiven for your sins, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should go jump in a swimming pool full of them and, you know, the Archbishop can sit there and, you know, just sit there and say, well, you know, he's very sorry that he just jumped in the swimming pool, but, you know, Charles was playing water polo in there, you know. It seems to me that the idea of the royals, there's nothing wrong with having regalia and, you know, nice things. Everyone can have nice things. But, you know, some monarchs in the past haven't had excess golden carriages and, you know, diamond crowns and everything in excess. You know, the problem is that there are two ways you can do this. This is what it comes down to. Either the Archbishop of Canterbury can say, you know, very, very good, Charles, well done. Haven't you done well with all your businesses? And hasn't everyone else done Alan Sugar with all his businesses? And what we'll do is, because you've done so well, we'll cream the top off it, right? Or we'll cream a little bit off the top of it, not too much now. And we'll give all this to charity. So if the Archbishop of Canterbury is saying, well, hasn't Charles done well and hasn't the whole corporate industry done well, but they're giving money to charity, right? That is, they're in so much, they've got so much excess, right, that they can afford to give some away to charity, right, which is then deemed as a good deed and a good thing. And then the Archbishop stood there with all his pallet trucks full of relief for Third World and so forth, or on whatever other religions he wants to help out, right? And then, you know, it's all signed off and dusted, haven't we done a good job and we're all good Christians. There's another approach to this, which is if those entities were not in sin, they would never be acquiring too much in the first place to get into a position where it's overflowing off the top in excess that they can afford to give some to charity. If they would be giving it to charity in the first place or not taking it from people, right, then they would never be in sin to overflow at the top to be able to afford to cream a little bit off for everyone else and then get a gold sticker on their chest saying, well done, aren't you? Shouldn't you be rewarded? That's the difference. And I think the church, in principle, is meant to be the model where you don't get into the position when you're in gross excess where you can afford to give to charity. And that is the difference. And if the model was working so they weren't seeking or pursuing excess, right, then it would be going to those good causes the right way. And it's not going there the right way, I don't think. It's like, you know, eBay making a killing, Jeff Bezos is making a killing, and then, oh, look, give a bit to charity there, you know, we're making a killing, you know, £10.65, and then, you know, donate 5% to charity. This is good business, you know. This is the thing. I don't think that these companies are doing good for the world or themselves, you know. Bezos and Gates are not a good model. And this is my only dispute with the church. I don't think that it's doing it the correct way. It's doing it the wrong way, not the right way. And I don't think it should be proud of charitable donations which are derived from gross sin and excesses, because that's what's causing all the diabetes and cancers and so forth, which there wouldn't have been if it had been going to the right places from the start. Right? But this is the thing. To me, the biggest evil in the world at the moment is this kind of crowd surfing thing. And it's actually getting worse now because it's catching on like an addiction with social media. They've just banned it in Australia for kids' social media. I don't know if that extends to YouTube or not, and Cocomelon, because Cocomelon was the biggest profit. Cocomelon's the biggest profit for YouTube. It's their biggest channel. It's modelled on Neil Mohan, but like a little cute childlike version. The main logo. If they're going to ban children from social media, which extends to YouTube in Australia, which I don't think is a bad idea, to be honest, then Cocomelon's not going to be number one in Australia anymore, and it's their flagship channel. Not that I watch it, but, it's not Mr. Beast, but, that's one for Lex Talionis, isn't it, Mr. Beast? So, this is the thing. There's nothing. The thing with the church is, right, okay, they've got congregations. The model of the church is a congregation. If you don't speak to people, they can't hear you. I'm not saying that everyone should be a recluse or a hermit or a monk, although there is a model for that. In fact, many saints apparently spent a lot of time in monasteries in remote seclusion contemplating God. They weren't all in front of... there were many people in the clergy, although most priests who train in solitary periods end up, being leading congregations, but that's not their whole life. You have to speak to people for them to hear you. But that's not the goal. Is not to be some kind of idol, It's only that you can teach people. It's a school, effectively. To enable to teach, they need to be able to listen, and if you don't get people together. But it's the pursuits. In the church, they're meant... What is the point? It's like a non-profit charity, right? With a non-profit body, right, you're not there to make profits. You're not there to make a profit. You're not there to take everyone's money. You can have a non-profit body. It doesn't have to pay tax because its aims and goals are not profit. Now, the church's aims and goals are meant to be to teach people forgiveness and guide them away from sins. That's the point. They're not there to... It's not business. They're not actually there to make cookies and give them out to people, even if, church people like making cookies. That the church doesn't exist to make cookies or even give food to everyone. The only reason the church is giving food to people is because they haven't got any food, and it's a good deed. If people weren't poor, like under Jeremy Corbyn, and they didn't have nothing, the church wouldn't need to spend any time on distributing pallets full of relief to anyone, because they wouldn't need it. So they could be busybodying with something else. Now, why are there certain people who don't have things? Because someone else is hogging them all and in gross excess, right? That the whole point of the congregation coming together is meant to be teaching people to actually do good deeds for each other, understand and tolerate each other, which is meant to be forgiveness, which, I think Biden and Harris are devoid of currently because they're wanting to ban everything and take away freedom of speech. This is the thing. The church is not Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway, right? It's not gathering. It's the difference between it's like you've got a non-profit body, right? Or you've got a corporate body. It's still a body of people, but the aims and goals are completely different, right? Now, when you've got a TV program that's getting everyone to watch it, they could be with their friends, family, they could be walking the dog, exercising, they could be up in the Lake District walking in the hills, they could be on the beach, they could be running, jogging, they could be making arts. No, drop whatever you're doing, sit down, stare at the television, right? They want the attention of everyone for the purpose of chasing after money, winning usually material things, getting people to give them ego strokes. Oh, come and stand up next to Anton Deck and be popular for 5 minutes. Come stand up with Philip Schofield. Come stand up there. When you're in a congregation, in a church, right? I mean, you got the Blues Brothers, yeah? You can be filled with the Holy Spirit of God, right? And you can be enlightened and you can, have divine inspiration. Some of those gospel congregations, when they're dancing, is for fun, but it's not strictly come dancing. The point is, you don't go to the church, right, to be popular. Everyone in the church is meant to be being nice to each other. But the thing with television is they're like, this now is, this is where we all smile at each other and be nice, lights, camera, action, 3, 2, 1, right? And, copiers, nothing's negative is said here. Yeah, as long as you turn up and clap when we say clap in the audience and, answer the questions, get the money, go on the holiday, and you come here to be appreciated, adored. But this is the thing. It's... When the church people leave, right, they're meant to be like that all the time. Now, if everyone's happy and get along with each other, right, and going about life, then if it's like the police, right? If the police were absolutely amazing, then there wouldn't be any crime. Right? None. So they could actually go home and not have to go to work. The church is a little bit like that. If the church was teaching people not to do sins and to also forgive each other when they did, lesser than often, then you wouldn't need to go to church to teach them it because they would be already doing it, right? And they could just have their own local dance in your groups or whatever. It's nice to have a service and so forth and get people together and sing choir and so forth, but they got people going round. When was the last time that anyone had any carol singers going round? People have got electric gates on now and barred windows and doors. They don't want strangers coming round trick-or-treating or even singing carols. If a community was going out doing this work of God or so forth, then everyone would be freaking carol singing and there would be nice songs being heard in the streets and so forth. And we don't even have Sunday the day of rest anymore. Now there's just these electric cars run 5 o'clock in the morning, 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. It starts at 3 o'clock in the morning now. Who are these people? Where are they going at that time? Right? People don't want to buy soundproofing on the entire house. If you soundproof your entire house, you can't listen to the birds or hear the trees rustle or the wind or the rain on the windows, if it's completely soundproofed. But no one wants a 24-hour drone of vehicles going past. Now, was this a David Cameron stunt, a Tony Blair stunt, mechanisms of implementation? Well, if we rig Elon's new cars and we get the MI5 Secret Service to, change a couple of things on the computer, and then the cars make this horrible droning sound, then they'll be driving everyone nuts, and then they'll be begging the government to get paper mile. Oh, please, government, stop this horrible noise. 24 hours a day, please bring paper mile to stop people making pointless journeys, but I've never had all this noise before all night. Where's it coming from? We used to have an entire day on a Sunday. You'd have thought that they'd have extended it to Saturdays as well. Wow. Aren't the Christians doing well? They've worked so hard now. We have a Saturday and Sunday as the day of rest. Oh, Jeff Bezos would have a heart attack, wouldn't he? I was hoping that we'd have an extra day in the week. I was hoping that we could have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Jeff Day, Saturday and Sunday, and then fit an extra work day in so I can sell more Amazon shit. You know, hey, we'll have a new day of the week and call it Jeff Day. And I don't mean Jeff buys cars, I'm talking about Jeff Bezos here, right? Jeff Day, the new extra day when Amazon can make even more money now that they've hijacked Sunday from the religious practice. You know, how about, you know, taking, why don't we reclaim a day for religion? You know, why don't we call it, you know, the Religious Communion Day on Saturdays when all religions come together and settle their differences and philosophize and debate with the day of free speech. You know, like the Convention Parliament, you know, we'll have a special Parliament for all religions to come together and discuss and debate their differences with complete freedom of speech, you know, or something like that. You know, who wants, you know, it's almost like moving to why doesn't Jeff Bezos build his warehouse right on the North Pole, and then, you know, it's like it doesn't even, there's no darkness. You know, can be daylight, be a perfect place for solar panels, because then it's never night. You know, Jeff Bezos could have solar panels going 24 hours a day because it's never dark for half the year. And then they could change production to the South Pole for the winter or whatever, you know, or whenever it is. You know, these policies and corporations now have just taken it too far. You know, there's no negotiating. There's no... You know, they wanted to scrap this market haggling it's annoying. Individuals are annoying. Humans are annoying. There's no bartering agreements with these policies. It's all like, you know, strict regime framework. You know, now everyone's got their own kind of audience now on YouTube and Facebook, and the worst thing is that with this misinformation is that it's actually the main channels that are putting misinformation out, and also they're not telling you things when really they should be telling you things, and people should know the truth about things. You know, this is it. I do think that when you're in person-to-person interaction, you're getting to know people. Now it's just words on a screen. You don't even know the actual person you're talking to. And then people's interests and attention are going into, people aren't even... People go buy something and they don't even get it out or look at it anymore. They take a photograph of it and then they're just literally... engrossed in the photograph they took of it, not even the actual thing. It's even worse than obsession with material possessions, because it's an obsession with something that's not even the real thing, you know? Isn't the thing with isn't half the Bible right about, you know, Jesus went to these kings who were in gross excess and he tried to teach them to share all the things out, you know, feeding the thousands. It's usually kings who are usually persecuting, you know, biblical characters, not helping them with their business and commerce enterprises. So that's my main grievance with the Archbishop of Canterbury. You know, why isn't he going to Charles? Well, you know, it's a gold crown. Why don't you settle for silver? And you know, this is the thing. But it's all about projecting power now. From what I've seen, I don't think that the more recent monarchies have been all about our constitutional rights, which were fought hard for. In fact, my findings have been that I think they're making an effort to try and erase them and even muse over the fact that they're erasing them. Because, you know, with this congestion charge in London, there's meant to be an ancient privilege for none of that. But then, you know, Tony Blair and Ken Livingstone were straight out the window with that, congestion charge. And there are other ways. The human has got the amazing power of the imagination, yet all they can come up with is one idea to tax things, which is illegal. Surely with all these, how many different recipes for a fucking lemon meringue is there, but they can't come up with, another way to do manage traffic in London, which is lawful, right? Surely the Department of Innovation and Technology, how many different, Dulux fucking paint colours have they got now? But they can't think of one idea to manage London, which is lawful, and including Sadiq Khan as well. It's ridiculous. And then I've realised also now, to do with that King's Peace, that they've banged the M6 toll literally running parallel with the A5. And it's become the main route. The A6 toll, the M6, sorry, not A6, the M6, right, toll road is taken precedence as the main route. It is now the main route between Tamworth and Cannock, right? So it effectively is a replacement main route. So it should be free. Because what it's doing is it's meant to relieve traffic from the A5, which the A5's the King's Peace route, but people live on the A5. The reason they built the M6 is to take traffic off the A5 so it's not annoying everyone and so it's not flooded with cars. So how can they charge a toll on it when it is the new replacement main route? Yet I think it's clearly obvious that there's some poetry in it. There's a meaning. There's a point to be made. A royal appointment, like Bury St. Edmunds. It's like, we're not meant to do this, so we'll do it. What I'm finding in my current research is that the royals have gone down the list of everything which they're not allowed to do and challenged themselves to see how many rules they could break just because they can. Oh, we can do what we want, And they made a point out of doing it and even amusing out of it. Amusement, right? Which that's illegal. It's actually criminal. That's treason. What they've done is they've said everything we can't do. Who the fuck do Not only are we supreme beings, but everything that we're not allowed to do, we're going to break every rule in the book, right? Which is them rules are meant to be there, what they're not allowed to do, But they've gone and done it, and then you've got all these, bacon butty chief executives at the Department of Transport who really couldn't give a flying monkey's fuck chuff about it because they're making a killing on their corporate JCB fucking digger profits, and they couldn't give a fuck about the Constitution of England. Yet on a Saturday they're going at the rugby match, chucking a rugby ball around, just flying a fucking English cross flag when it's meant to be the symbol of the country. Who are these hard hat wearing, crack ass builders bum, stop me on the A32, Gordon Queen and Michael Pagella, reporting me for dangerous driving when I'm investigating their illegal road signs that they banged up everywhere because they're